Yo, what's up guys? Hope you're all doing well. So a lot of you might recall, but Battlefield 2042 this time last year was a mess. Not only that, but it was a mess with very little noticeable changes being made at the time. DICE would fix a few things, but then totally break something else, go on holidays for months. It really was a tough time to be a Battlefield creator, player, or even just a fan of the franchise. Anyways, this time round, it's a bit different. I'm not really sure if it's changes in management that have been really shining through here, but it's obvious that they're going for a second life with this game, and honestly I've been really impressed so far. Starting with Season 3, I'm not sure what you guys think about it, but for me it's an absolute hit. The new map is probably my favourite map in the game so far. It's at least top 3. I've had a lot of fun playing both infantry and aircraft on this map, and it's been fun in both Conquest and Breakthrough, which is something you can't say about all the maps in this game. On top of this, I want to say that every map they've added so far has been really good. Season 1, 2, and 3 all added, top 3 maps pretty much. My top 3 maps is definitely this map, Spearhead, followed by I think Stranded, just the infantry is a little bit better on there, and then Exposure. So they have got better with every single map they've added in my opinion, which is just a crazy thing to say. I wouldn't even say that BF4 kept on adding better and better maps. It was kind of like up and down with that game. Anyways, we had the railgun as well, and I'm not going to lie, I overreacted to that. I thought it was going to be a lot more oppressive, and it really should be, but I don't think players are very good with it or they've given it much of a chance. It's a different weapon, it takes time to get used to, and with the charge up time that they've actually put on that railgun, I have not really been killed by it even close to as much as I thought I would be. Now DICE have actually went as far as to confirm that Season 5 is going to come out, so not only do we get Season 4, which was promised at the start of the game, but we're going to get a season after that at least. And I want to talk briefly about the map that we're going to be getting in Season 4, along with what's coming in Season 5, because they have actually leaked that, and it's going to be a map from Battlefield 4, which I'm really excited about. So starting though, here is Season 4's map. It's supposed to be a smaller, shorter, linear map, designed for the close quarters combat that Battlefield is famous for. I mean, if you ask me, I'd say Battlefield is more famous for large-scale combined arms combat, but hey, if DICE is going to say that we're famous for that as well, I'll take it. Operation Metro, Operation Lockers, those are some classic maps. And to be honest, this new map looks like it's the Battlefield 2042's Lockers map. Every single Battlefield game eventually does get a map like this, and what's really interesting to me is that Battlefield 5 got its version of Lockers, which was called Operation Underground, roughly a year after the game released. Now, a year after this game released, we're getting a new map, and sure enough, it is looking a lot like the Lockers kind of style, and that is exactly how to describe it. I mean, Lockers, Metro, Underground, all those maps, they're all very linear, they are quite short. It's definitely sounding like it's going to be the Lockers of 2042. Now, in my opinion, this is a really good thing. In my opinion, 2042 has needed something like this since release, especially with just how oppressive the vehicles are. As someone who flies a lot of helis myself, I can tell you that they are very oppressive. And then you have things like pods, explosive cannons, all that stuff where you can't even dodge it. At least with the miniguns, you can kind of dodge and weave a little bit and you have a chance to survive. Explosive damage is not the same. If you get hit by explosive damage, you're pretty much going to die. So 2042 really needs this. It's going to be even more oppressive versus vehicles if you're a new player. And if they're trying to bring new players in, you need that infantry-only experience. Now, with Portal persistent servers, I can 100% see that there's going to be hundreds of Portal servers that are just going to host this map and this map only. It's definitely going to be one of people's favorite maps in this game, as long as they just follow the formula and they get it right. I mean, Underground in BFV was a really good Lockers-style map, so I do have faith that these developers can make a pretty good one here. I do realize how crazy that sounds. I'm just in the editing now listening to that. But I do have faith in the maps for this game. While the release maps are bad, every single post-launch one has been good in my opinion. I'm just explaining that take because it sounded really bad when I said it. Anyways, let's get into the really exciting stuff. There's a map that's going to be coming that was last seen in Battlefield 4. And this map will release in Season 5, and unlike the rest of the seasons, Season 5 and onwards won't be bringing any new specialists into the game. And this to me is a really wise move. A lot of games, especially games that have live servers, suffer from bloat. And that's basically just when games keep on adding stuff and they feel the need to constantly bombard the players in content, but some of this content just makes the game worse in the end. There's a lot of games that I felt like this towards, and Battlefield really just doesn't need 50 specialists to succeed. Now, what is welcome is more maps, and especially one from Battlefield 4, so let's get into that. DICE have described this map as a forgotten battleground that was last seen in the Battlefield 4 era, an overgrown area engulfed in vegetation, and by the 2042 war. It's going to have a combination of vehicular and infantry combat as well. So let's get to guessing. Firstly, I'm going to assume that it's a map from the BF4 base game. I know they did say it's a forgotten battleground, but I'm assuming that's just referring to going back to BF4. Now, I think the base game are the maps that were played by the most players, and everyone kind of just knows and loves all those basic maps. Some of the premium maps are really good, don't get me wrong, but I just don't really see them picking from something like that. I reckon they're going to go with something really recognizable and just a signature BF4 map. Anyways, that gives us these maps right here. We've got Dawnbreaker, Flood Zone, Goldmud Railway, Hainan Resort, Lankang Dam, please don't be Lankang Dam, Operation Locker, Parasol Storm, and then Rogue Transmission, Siege of Shanghai, and finally Zavod 311. So a fair few maps in Battlefield 4 base game. It's released with a lot more than 2042. And firstly, just sorry Locker boys, but it's not going to be Lockers. It just won't be. They're adding a Lockers style map in Season 4, and then the map says it has vehicles and infantry, so it just can't be Lockers. In addition to this, the map is going to be overgrown with red vegetation. Lockers is like snowy and then concrete inside. It just doesn't really seem like a nice place for vegetation to grow, so I'm going to rule that one out. Now, along with this, I'm going to rule out Dawnbreaker for a similar reason. It's just not really that classic of a map. I know, like, competitive players and stuff do like Dawnbreaker, but it's going to be hard to make that map look really overgrown, so I'm just not going to think it's going to be Dawnbreaker there. Now, finally, I want you guys to think of what makes Battlefield 4 maps Battlefield 4. I mean, every Battlefield map has a key common aspect with its maps. For BC2, it was destruction. BF3, it was like graphics and scale. And then finally in Battlefield 4, I think we can mostly agree that Levolution was DICE's big thing. Now, if you don't remember, Levolution was where these massive triggerable in-game events occurred that drastically changed the maps. Think of the Siege of Shanghai Tower dropping, the whole map goes dusty, there's water, there's an attack boat. It basically changes the entire map. Now, given this, I do think we can actually go ahead and scratch a few more maps off the list, because I really do think DICE is going to choose a map that had Levolution. It was just such a classic, typical BF4 thing that if you're going to take a BF4 map, you've got to choose a map with Levolution. So, we're going to scratch out Goldmud Railway and also Lankang Dam. Yeah, I know Lankang does have the dam cracking, but honestly that was really underwhelming. And just please don't let it be Lankang, it's a shit map, so I don't think it's going to be Lankang, there's no chance of that. Now this leaves us with still just quite a few maps. We have Flood Zone, Hainan Resort, Parasol Storm, Rogue Transmission, Siege of Shanghai, and Zavod 311. Now these are like the cream of the crop in my opinion, the cream of the crop for harvesting the crops. These are the maps, dude. Any of these maps I would be quite happy with, but I'm going to explain which one I think it's going to be now. So the first map, I think we're going to get something that's going to be overgrown with vegetation and it has some significance in the 2042 war. I know that DICE has constantly been kind of chipping into this 2042 storyline. Every single map does have something to do with it. Like for example, the new map is a Nordvik weapons facility, and then the whole season is Nordvik guns. So I think they're going to have to get something that ties in with the story. So I'm not going to rule Flood Zone out, but I'm not going to guess it either, because I don't think there's really any tactical significance to Flood Zone. It's just a few buildings and some water. It's not really a huge military location. Now Hainan Resort, again, we could get some vegetation there. It's a fun map and definitely one of my favorites, but I just don't see how they're going to weave it into the story. It's a bloody holiday resort or something, so I don't think it has any military significance. Now, getting into some real contenders for me, Parasol is a very serious contender for Season 5, because it's a map that could definitely see some more vegetation. It already has a lot of trees and stuff. It already has an awesome Levolution event with the destroyer ship that comes into the sea flag, and it offers some potential naval combat with attack boats, which we have not seen yet in this game. Finally, to top it off though, the 2042 story. The map is a proper military setting with a radar dish, a huge destroyer ship, there's aircraft carriers on both teams. These could be huge assets in the 2042 war, and to top it off, there's some wind turbines out back for your renewable energy in that. You know, Parasol is a map that I really loved. I'm not sure if it's the most common take that it's a great map, but I love it, and I wouldn't complain at all if it came into the game. The next map is an absolute top contender, and we got Rogue Transmission, which out of the legit maps that I think it could be, this is the one that I really hope they don't pick. So why would they pick it though? I mean, it could easily be modeled with some overgrown vegetation, and it's got some good Levolution with the dome dropping. And it's a military setting, it's a really military setting, which I think they're going to choose something like that. It has a massive transmission dish in the middle, and I think that could be a useful asset if you're in this 2042 war or whatever. So, I don't want Rogue, I really don't, and you shouldn't either. I mean, within the stats, the China side of that map wins like 80% of matches. And it does go a bit deeper than that, to be fair. 2042 is a different game, but I just think it's a very one-sided map, and I really don't want it to come back into this game. Now, getting back to the very legitimate contenders, and I think this will be a pretty common take, I reckon it could be Siege of Shanghai as well. Definitely a high chance. I mean, it's Shangers, mate. It really should not be on the list with how little vegetation could be present, but you can't really rule out Shangers. You never can. It's the BF4 map. It might not be the best one for everyone. It's got a lot of heli dominance and stuff, but it's definitely a fan favorite. It played really well in TDM, and I also think it could be integrated into the 2042 war. We've mainly seen the US and Russian gear on the battlefield so far, but obviously being in Shanghai, this could be China's entry into the game, I guess. Now finally wrapping things up, we have Zavod 311, and for me this is probably one of the best maps in BF4. Sure, it had pretty much very limited air combat, just a little bird, but it was great for infantry, great for armor, and the scout heli gameplay was good as well. It played well on the farm lobbies, but it also played really well on the sweaty ones, and offered the underrated 6 flag setup. Basically, if you have even flags per side, that means that each team can cap 3 flags, and then the winner is pretty much decided by killing, which is a cool little setup. Now the map already contains some vegetation, but they could easily add a little bit more. And finally, it is a military location. I mean, there's heaps of tanks everywhere, and overall it definitely has a lot to offer in the 2042 war. So out of these maps, which is most likely? Well, it might not be expected, but I'm going to say Siege of Shanghai. I mean, Parasol would work well as well, but I just don't think it's classic enough in that roster of maps. Zavod is definitely my runner-up. I think it's a great map in BF4, but would it be as good in 2042? Liz missiles, 128 players, more vehicles, and the list goes on. I just think Siege is a lot more scalable. It's a larger map, and it could reuse existing assets with the skyscrapers. Finally, they do want to say that they're adding vegetation to the map, and if you add more vegetation to Zavod, I mean, it already is a forest, like how much more vegetation can you get? Whereas on Siege of Shanghai, it would make a huge change to the map and really freshen things up, so for those reasons, I think it is going to be Siege of Shanghai. Anyways, throw your guesses down in the comments. I want to see what you guys are thinking, and with all that said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.